And with that said, we welcome to the WDET studios one of the leaders in deep house and electronica, a true innovator in this medium that we call music, Deep House CEO of Yoruba Records, Mr. Osunlade. Welcome to the Progressive Underground, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Well, let's get right into it. You are in Detroit today because yesterday you dropped some serious musical love at TV Lounge. Kind of tell us what that was about.
Yeah, it was pretty much like every experience I have in Detroit. It was family, it's love. You know, the people come out and they support, and it's yeah, you know, Rick and Nancy Gavor and Rick Real Height. We've been doing this, I guess, like 4 times now. So I think we've graduated and brought some people out that probably hadn't been out in a while. So, you know, and the energy's always good. Last night was exceptional. I think was the climax of all the parties we've had. We got the energy that we've been building up. So it was good. It was good. A bit exhausted. I had Atlanta the day before, so it's a bit, yeah. But I'm good. It was a good party.
Nice. Now, let's just chop it up. We're going to go all the way back to the beginning with you. A lot of people don't know this, but you were raised in St. Louis.
Yep.
Your parents sort of really cultivated a musical environment around you,
Yeah.
really pushed you and encouraged you. But you got your professional career started when Tony Basil, old Mickey, you're so fine, Tony Basil.
Tony Basil, yeah.
She
called me.
She discovered you. Yeah, kind of give us, tell us, you know, walk us through your trajectory with that.
I'd gone to L.A., I think I was about 17, just to check out the scene and see what was what. And I met like some random people, and I worked in the studio with them, and they knew Tony, and they played what we'd done. And she called me, and she was working on a movie, like a B movie, with Thomas Dolby. And
Wow.
so she called me. She's like, "I'm doing this movie. I want you to come and write songs. It's a musical. I want you to write some songs." And so flew out to LA, and that was it. I lived with her for about, I don't know, maybe 2 months or something. And that's how the Sesame Street thing came, because she was choreographing for that. So pretty much for the time that I was with her, it was everything she choreographed, I was kind of somewhere involved, you know.
So you did kind of production work for Sesame Street. I mean, that just blows my mind.
You know, it's really interesting because it's the one question I'm asked most, and you know, at 17, you know, it's like it's a job. You know, for me it was like, okay, for me, I never watched Sesame Street, so it wasn't such a cultural thing in my upbringing. But you know, especially in Europe, it's huge. It's a big part of their culture. So it freaks me out when I'm asked that question. But yeah, you know, I don't know. It's one of those things, you know, it's part of the story.
Now, things began happening really quickly after that. You sort of got on with what was then a fledgling record label, Interscope.
Actually, before that, I worked at Solar.
Get out of here, really?
Yeah, I produced Jeffrey Daniels. Actually, I moved to L.A. Before Tony called me. I was actually, not actually, I'll go back. After Tony called me, after that stint working with her, I worked with Jeffrey Daniels in, I think it was 89, 90, the time he was choreographing Michael and Loose Ends and everyone. So it was pretty interesting. You know, my musical or music education comes from, you know, all the old school, you know, Dick Griffey's and those kind of people. Huggins Brothers out in New York was my manager just sometimes. So I got a proper whooping, you know, growing up. So.
Now, that kind of led you into a collaboration with Gerardo.
Yeah.
And that was the Latin artist who had the international hit, Rico Suave, which you know, had a part in that as well. What was that like?
Gerardo was friends of mine. We were friends, and most of the dancers, the break dancers, like all the guys that were in Beat Street breaking, all those are all dancers that knew Tony. So I met all those guys from that, and most of those guys wanted to sing. They didn't want to dance anymore because the breaking thing was kind of fizzing out. So a lot of them would call me to do productions on them and stuff. Gerardo was actually an actor in a sitcom, and he was doing a movie, Colors, I think. He was in that. And so anyway, he was doing a sitcom in Acapulco. We'd done the 4-track of that, of Rico Suave, and he took it in and hired the crew to do a video. If you ever noticed the video, he's half he has extensions and half his hair is short, because he did half there and half in. We got the deal. So I took the thing too. I was working also with Michael Sembello at the time.
Oh no, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
because actually, go back a little bit. When Tony called me in, the person that was actually engineering the project for the movie was the guy Hilary Bercovici, whose actual father was the writer for I Dream of Jeannie or something like that. Anyway, so he kind of took me under his wing. He was also the engineer for Bobby Caldwell and all of Michael Sembello's stuff. So I would work under him and work in Michael Sembello's studio, or go to Bobby's studio and pick up a keyboard or something. So they all hate me. They're like, "Who's this young black kid taking my equipment?" You know. but they were always cool. And so I you know, I was in that realm, and so I took the project to Michael because he knew Jimmy Iovine was starting this record company, and they said let's do a production company, and we did it. So the first 2 singles were songs I wrote with it. So it was all right.
Yeah, I'd say
It's
so.
not bad.
Now, you went on to go on to work with a lot of luminaries, Patti LaBelle, Jazzy Jeff, you know, a few others, Roy Ayers.
Yeah.
You know, what was that like, kind of, you know, working with some
All
of those
those
guys?
situations were different. Like Roy Ayers, there was a remix. So that was one of my peers, Peter, who owns BBE Records. He'd actually made the deal with Roy and got the masters for like 3 unreleased albums, and there's another one coming soon actually.
Wow.
Really? Yeah, they found another one. Like I guess he had all these albums that he didn't send to the label, and he just sitting on them. Yeah.
Oh,
So Peter's putting them out. So basically, that was a call, you know, for a friend, you know, to get me involved with that. Patty was actually through another friend, you know, just music business people, a friend that was a writer for her and a lot of the female divas kind of thing, and he used to just hire other musicians or producers to produce what he would write lyrically.
Nice.
So that's how that happened. But that was actually amazing because it was, you know, situations like that, Patti LaBelle, Najee, Freddie Jackson, you know, to work with people that, like, Freddie Jackson freaked me out. The first time we booked studio, they're like, "Oh, Freddie only needs 4 hours." I'm like, "No, we need to work." Freddie was out of there within an hour.
Wow.
Same with Patti, one take, you know, and we spent the rest of the night dancing to the rest of her album, her playing the album. So, you know, those kind of things really teach you how to structure the you know, your studio and your, I guess, your,
and how to do it just
like, bang it out. I was
wow.
like, whoa, okay.
Now, you worked on dozens of albums, pop albums back then, but then, you know, that kind of got a little old after a while. Kind of tell us
well,
the
that
story
was
behind
kind of
that.
around the time of the New Jack Swing. I was deep into that whole scene and producing.
And anyone that knows me knows New Jack Swing. It's like nails on a chalkboard to me, man.
Hey, when you're in LA and you're trying to eat,
Yeah.
and they say, "I need this." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that? Okay, cool. I got it." So, you know, it was that thing. And so, yeah, I was involved with that, and it's pretty prolific. I mean, it was kind of in between the New Jack Swing and going into the Neo Soul. So between the New Jack Swing and the Neo Soul, I produced Music Soul Child, Eric Benet's first album, Vivian Green's first album. So I was involved with that. But during that time, a lot of that music wasn't really, it wasn't from me. You know, I listened to it, and a lot of it was based around, you know, me trying to get a name as a producer or make the funds or, you know, get a hit out there. And I was in the whole LA frame of mind, the Hollywood frame of mind, to be something more than the music. And so I stopped after 97. I stopped. I just didn't do any music professionally.
You took, a year or two off?
2 years, yeah. I took 2 years. And then I became a Yoruba priest, which was something that I was involved with earlier, or introduced to, I should say, earlier in my life. And in those 2 years, I was offered a label deal from Tommy Musto, who owned a few house labels in New York in distribution, Northcott Distribution. So we did a joint deal for that, and then I started the label, and I was like, well, you know, I'd always done house as a personal joy. Coming from St. Louis, being so close to Chicago, Detroit, you know, it's part of our thing. But I grew up on funk, so I would always keep my house stuff to the side. And so I met with Tommy and played him some stuff that I had like years back, and he was like, yeah, let's do it. So we started the label, and funny thing for me, starting the label, I didn't think about the difference of my name being on the record versus, because I'm used to seeing it as a producer or the small print. So when I became the artist, it really freaked me out because I was like, oh, okay. But that's when everything started to roll, because at that point I was like, well, I'm just going to do music for me. I don't care if I sell something, if someone likes it, you know. And I took the old attitude of the music business out of the frame. It was just about the music and whatever I felt. Nice. And it served my purpose today.
Well, brother, we have got so much to talk to you about because we want to get into your Yoruba, the embrace of the Yoruba religion, and how that's impacted your creativity and the way you sort of structure your sound, but also your record label. We want to get into that and what it's like to be not only the CEO but an artist. How do you kind of juggle those responsibilities? But before that, we're going to go into break, and we've got a tune queued up for you called "Blue Is the New Green." Kind of give us a storyline behind that.
"Blue Is the New Green," was one of those songs that I rarely, can't say rarely, but on my trips home, when I'm home to create, I normally go straight into the studio and kind of give myself the release of whatever situation or places and people and cultures that I've accumulated. And this is what came out. I was at home, and I think I just did this in like a day or something. And it was, for me, I wanted something. I think it was cause at that period I was DJing a lot. I was touring a lot. So when I finally got home, I was like, all right, I need to make something for the club. And this was, for me, was just like, in your face, a bit repetitive. I wanted it repetitive because I wanted something that you can go in a trance with and have your own emotion and connection with. So that's pretty much the situation there.
Nice. We are in the studio with Osunlade, and we're checking out "Blue Is the New Green." This is the Progressive Underground on 101.9 WDET. Wow, love that tune. That is the tune Amongst Here from Osunlade. And, before we get into talking about your spiritual awakening, let's just talk about your music, because your music has always had a spiritual infusion. You managed to always work several layers of instrumentation.
Yeah.
Just tell us your creative process.
For me, it's just absorbing everything, I guess in the beginning it was more about an outlet to express myself and try to figure out who I was. I was raised an only child, so I didn't have siblings or lots of friends. Music was my friend, and luckily I started playing piano early, and my father was really, really supportive. Anything I wanted, I want the new keyboard, next paycheck, that was what, so it was really supportive. So, and I think they just kind of left me alone, just let him do his thing. He's not hurting anybody, let him do his music. And so, but I think later, since I started DJing and touring, I think it's been more about the things that I pick up, again, the people, the cultures, the things that have allowed me to evolve over the years. Definitely is what my music is about, relationships, places, people, whatever it is,
Now, what I've been meaning to ask you, too, because you live in Santorini, Greece, which is one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen.
It is.
I mean, it's paradise on earth,
it's
literally.
Pretty special. It's definitely an energy point. For me, it was, I think it was just the universe guiding me. I'm a gypsy. I've lived a lot of places, and I was living in Puerto Rico at the time, and I lost my house to a flood. And
now, is it true you moved to Puerto Rico to get away from the whole idea of the Bush administration?
Exactly. Yeah, I was like, this guy's in I'm telling you, it's like that today with
right.
with your current people. But yeah, I just felt like, if I live on this land, I'm guilty. I'm just as guilty for whatever's going to happen, and I just didn't feel spiritually. I didn't feel it was my place, and moving to Puerto Rico wasn't that much better because it was still America, So it was a different thing, I think also I had this idea of moving to Puerto Rico and trying to do electronic fusion with Latin music, but the time I reached, it was reggaeton city, so just a little bit too late.
Heavy.
Yeah, big time. So that was kind of, down to, but I did 6 years in Puerto Rico, and it was nice, but Greece just happened. I'd been playing in Greece for about 7-8 years, and I'd never gone to the islands, and my friend just said, you know what, you've never gone to the islands, you've never seen Greece, you can't just say you've been to the mainland. And so he says, let's make a trip, and it was myself, Frank Rogers, and my friend Christos Zagopoulos, and we went around a few islands, and he took me to Santorini last, and he says, I brought you here last because I know once you got here, you wouldn't leave. 2 hours at dinner.
He was right.
I decided to move in 2 hours. In 3 days, I found a house. So it was kind of like the universe. Okay, you're done with this one. Here's this, and so I just kind of live my life on that. If I feel something, I just do it. I don't question, my path.
Do you do the bulk of your musical creations there?
I do. Yeah, most of it at home. The last 2 years, I've managed to create a duplicate studio at my mom's in St. Louis. So when I visit her, I have a place to work as well. It's like a dummy studio.
What's the studio setup for you? What does that
for
look
me,
like?
it's
because you're a live instrumentation type of a producer.
There's a lot of pianos and a lot of drums and a lot of percussion. That's my main thing. Some guitars and basses, but the main thing is the rhythm and the chords. The songwriting part of it.
Gotcha. Now, you've always had a lot to say musically, but also, politically and artistically. Last year, there was just this big, it's like you closed down the internet.
Yeah. Well,
you had made a comment about, your experiences in South Africa and created a lot of dialogue. Actually, a lot of constructive dialogue in the process. Kind of walk us through what that was about.
Well, I mean, for me, it was, two things. I played South Africa many years before the South African boom. And I think like most of us, we go there and we're like, oh, we're going to the motherland. We're going to see how people dance around music. And you get there and you have that. And you're like, wow, I've never experienced so much black love. Right. 10 years later, not going there for so long, now they have a scene. And it's a different demographic of culture and everything. And I think also when I was going previously was just after the apartheid was over. So everything was still new and things were moving faster. And you could see progress. Going back 10 years later, I was like, whoa, what happened?
Shocking.
And I took my mom. My mom was with me. I was like, you got to come to South Africa. You got to, and I'm bringing her there. And I'm like, oh, wow. We land, and it was like from the time we landed to the time we left, it was just really like, wow, I can't believe people live like this. For me, it was my duty to say, listen, I never said boycott, and there was a lot of things that were put in my mouth, and I guess in any writing, unless you, if it's on videotape or whatever, you can claim that you said anything. So, but for me, it was about just telling the people to stand up for themselves. I come from America and I live outside of America because I cannot see myself validating living here and saying that I'm okay with what happens here. And so I see that at another place and I say, well, listen, this is what's happening from where I'm from. You have a chance. You're the majority. And so for me, I was like, just be better for yourself. My tone was not the best, and I'm pretty much a no filter kind of guy. If I see
but
something,
you brought your moms there. I mean, you bring your moms. I mean,
you do my mom's wrong. I'm like, all right, we got some issues. So and mom was cool. She knows me, and she was actually trying to calm me down. I was like, there's just right and wrong, and I just can't. If something's wrong, I'm going to call it out. Yeah. And I'm not better than anyone, but I think there needs to be an equal mutuality of fairness to everyone. And if you don't claim it for yourself, you're not going to get it.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to let you disrespect me. I don't care who you are.
Right.
So that was my stand. And, again, I didn't speak, I guess because I spoke out of anger and hurt because of what was given to me. I wanted to inflict that, I guess. But, I think at the end of the day, it was enough to shock the people to communicate. And for everyone that had something negative to say, before we landed, we were coming from Cape Town to Joburg to take our flight back to New York. Before we landed to Joburg, I had about 2,000 friend requests from young black South Africans. Yeah. So, and they were saying, thank you for being my voice. And even people that cursed me out on Facebook and, sent me private messages, we're working on your music now. A few months later, I'm listening to what you're saying and I'm reading what you're saying and now I'm understanding, I'm seeing what's happening. That's all I wanted to see. I'm from the outside in. I have a benefit that most people don't, and I guess a lot of us in this music industry do. That's we travel. We have a chance to get outside of our life and see it and reflect on it and take some back and change it and repeat it. Not everybody has that. So when I see something from someplace that I don't understand, I'm going to try to understand it or try to shift it so that it's understandable.
Right.
So.
Well, you were kind of ahead of your time because not too long after that, there was a bunch of rioting. College students were sort of starting to speak up.
Yeah, exactly. Right, I was like, no, we're not. So I mean, again, I think energy in general, is what causes change, and I think that timing that we had to blow out with me and all of the people. And
speaking of which, because you had some spirited dialogue with like Monique Bingham, Black Coffee, and that kind of got a lot of exposure. But you guys sat down shortly thereafter.
Monique and I, we did speak, and I think she's in a place that I was 10 years ago. That's her market. It's not my market now. So. In our conversation, I think I made her understand maybe what she doesn't see as her first moments there now, what I see 10 years later. And I think after our conversation, she saw my point and she admitted that, maybe I am a bit blind of how the people live here, the people that support our music and the people that are actually benefiting from it. And I suggested to her, why don't you post this dialogue between us on Facebook so that everyone, because when she came out against me, it was like, oh, she's our hero, and I was the villain. I was like, so you can see that there's, put it up so everyone can see that there's nothing between me, you and I don't know you. So, and she decided that she was going to edit it, and I felt like editing yourself is the cowardly way to do it. So, it's really sad because for me that shows me about someone's person, and I can't stand on that, for me. So I felt a bit disappointed in her ability to bring a full community, because I didn't want to put it out there. That wasn't my place. Yeah. I said, you made this stand, so let's fix it. And I thought that would have been a very powerful thing to say. Well, okay, villain and the savior is together, and they're making the same point, and then people may have come together and done something. But.
Well, either way, it created much needed dialogue. And, for our audience, the uninitiated who maybe weren't up on that, you were speaking on a lot of the economic disparities and the racial complications that were sort of rearing their heads.
On both sides.
On both sides.
Black and white South Africans.
It wasn't one-sided.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. And it's a conditioning. I think that's a problem in our world. People get conditioned and they just think things are that way. And we are the army.
Yeah.
Once we put the guns down, there's no more wars. I don't understand why people don't get that. It's like, so yeah, it freaks me out.
Well, we are in studio with Osunlade, and we're talking about music, making a difference, and everything else in between. The next song that's going to take us into break.
Yes.
Saying the Same Thing. It was a collaboration with Maiya James.
Yeah, it was longtime friend, Ali, from Papa Records, the owner of Papa Records, and he used to be on me like every month. Got to do something for the label, So we finally made an agreement, and I went over and worked with Maiya, and we did this actually in their studio, and it was quite fun. It's been a good tune for me over the years.
It's a lush track. I mean, it takes you places.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Good moments.
Well, we are in studio with Osunlade, and we're going to go into break. And in the meantime, we're going to check out a tune, the Yoruba mix of Saying the Same Thing, which was a collaborative work done with Maiya James.
Might even be the one you could turn to. Gotta know I'm on your
And that is an instant classic from Osunlade, and that is called Human Beings, which got a remix from Martin Iverson, a.k.a. Atjazz. And speaking of Osunlade, we are continuing our interview, our exclusive interview with Osunlade here at the WDET studios. How are you doing over there, sir?
I am well.
Now, we've been talking, actually, we've gone around the world and back again.
Yep.
But let's hit Yoruba Records, okay? We know you started that as sort of a creative outlet for you, especially when you were leaving, the commercial side of the music industry. Kind of give us what it's been like to juggle being a label head and an artist.
Impossible. No, it's actually challenging, but I'm a freak. I mean, I'm pretty much like I'm the label. There's no staff. There's nothing. So I'm pretty much. I just actually hired somebody last year, but pretty much the years have just been myself. I think I like to know that if it's done wrong, it's my fault. If it's done right, it's my fault as well. So
direct accountability.
Yeah, and I come from the old school in the sense of I come from A&Ring. Where you asked me earlier about do I sign artists or take demos, and I don't, because everyone on my label is someone that I've mentored. And most of them don't have a release until 4 years after. So it's kind of like school. I take them from the beginning, like the entire thing, and not really more directing than actual, teaching, more mentoring, and just kind of helping people find their own voice. So I think when I have artists that have given me the trust to release their music, I have to protect them, and I have to have something that's tangible, and they actually see that it's physical and it's actual. It's not a file that you can change the name of. It's and it's an accomplishment. So I put a lot of work into that, and I never rush anything.
Yeah,
I'm in a hurry to do nothing. A song could sit on the shelf for 10 years, and I'm fine with it. So it's
you're almost like the Prince of Deep House. Huh?
Well, I don't know. I mean, just in general, musically, I think there's just so many things that I create that some of it is indicative of where I am now. A lot of it is, like the new album I'm working now. There's quite a few songs that are probably more than 3 years old, but they are exact to what's happening with me today. So it works out.
Now, you came into the studio bearing gifts.
Yes.
And what was really encouraging is that you are still a major proponent of vinyl.
Yes.
Not only the full vinyl, but the 7-inch.
7-inch, yeah. Well, the new label is Yoruba Soul is a strictly 7-inch label dedicated to soul and just everything non-electronic. I can't say non-electronic, non-house, I guess I should say. More funk orientated, and and also another outlet for the artists, because a lot of the artists, they do down tempo things and other things and experiment with things. Charisma's got some releases coming on the label, and it's things that they're known of, but they want to have another way to stretch out, and so I wanted to open that up as well. And as well, it was really difficult for me over the years. You asked me about being the label boss and the artist. I think for myself starting out, I learned really fast when I started the label that I cannot be the only artist on the label, because if I fail, the label fails. So I started signing artists within the first year, and over the years we've probably had about a good 25 artists. Most of them still with us, probably about 14, and we're really a family. I do a festival now for the label in Greece.
Nice.
Yeah, and this year we have a residency in Mykonos for 4 months. So it's a lot of things happening with the label, and I mean, just trying to give some outlets to people and create good music. It's the most important thing for me, is the voice of the music.
Indeed. Give us some more details about the festival. When is it?
The festival has been the past 2 years. August. It's the weekend of August 15th, which is normally the peak weekend in Greece, because it's a spiritual holiday.
Got it.
And so everyone in Greece normally goes to the islands to party for that weekend. So we take that weekend, and there's a small bar called Casablanca Soul, which I did a song, pretty much an album towards the island. And so over the years, I've been there 11 years, like since I've gone, since I've lived there, I play at this bar. It's kind of like my home. So, it's one of those places I'm bored. I want to just take some records in and walk anytime, any day, and just go in. And so, I've booked quite a few people from the States and all over. But so, yeah, we do this festival there, and it's literally something that I wanted to give back to the island because most of the island, it's really, really, really commercial and really geared towards tourism. And, you'll hear Nicki Minaj quick. But to hear something, and so Casablanca Soul is really the only integral place on the island that you can hear deep house, funk, soul, jazz, whatever. It's just a full array of whatever music. And so we started doing it, and the first year was such a success that for me at least, when the locals come to you and go, man, thank you, because we don't have anything like that. And so it's rewarding in that respect that I'm giving something back to the home. So it's good.
Now, this event that you spun at yesterday, which was doubled up as a birthday celebration for you as well.
Pre-birthday second.
Pre-birthday,
It's birthday. I'm doing a week. I'm going to do a week celebration, so it's okay.
Well, Nancy Gavor, who many Detroiters are very, very familiar with, mover and shaker within the industry. She was the main proponent in getting you over here, and we've been kind of talking offline.
Takes care of me.
Well, we've got Nancy in the studio right here, right now, and we're going to just get a quick soundbite from her because, you've been talking about bringing him for a while now, and just to see that just, come to a realization, I think Detroit owes you a huge thank you. What was that event like for you yesterday?
Well, pretty much every Osunlade event is an opportunity for us to collectively be uplifted through music, which is completely directed spiritually. And if you're an open portal, which we all are, and his music touches us, it touches our heart, it touches our gut, it touches our solar plexus, and it just opens up our chakras. We go flying through the crown chakra and walk around for like a week with just a different mindfulness and a different heart space. So he's really, in terms of opening a spiritual portal for every human being. And we have 400 people grooving together to his music. There's a collective, to use the adage, soul. We unite as one. We're never separate.
Yeah.
And when we're really living as human beings in the moment, we know that we are part of that fourth dimension. And we separate ourselves with greed, with chasing a dollar, trying to get our daily tasks done. But really, when we break it all down, we are all one. It's a collective soul. And as he said earlier in the interview, we can do anything we want. We can get anything accomplished. Yeah. And just bringing him here was poignant in that for me.
And we appreciate your role in that.
Thank you.
This has been on our to-do list for quite some time, so definitely.
Well, I'm blessed, man. Detroit has definitely adopted me and given me so much love. It's really amazing. There's only a few cities in the States because this is not my territory,
Right.
So there's only a few cities that I'm home, and so I'm really, really grateful for the love you guys have given me.
Now, what's the future looking like for Yoruba Records, and maybe just walk us through like the next year to year and a half for you and the company?
Next year and a half. Slowly, we're getting into the festival thing. This year, we're diving into every festival I play. I'm basically doing a Yoruba stage. There's no more booking me direct. You have to book everybody. So that's happening. I think musically, what's going on this year, most of the artists that have had first debut albums, they're on their second or third. So we have quite a few albums coming out. There's a Mike Sever remix album coming out, my album. Also the second label, we have a few 7 inches and a few albums. So this is a lot more music, pretty much. Try to expand. I may even do a video.
Oh, get out of here. Oh.
I hate that. So, I'm thinking about it, so we'll see.
Wow, now that's evolution. That's evolution.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So,
Now, for people that want to keep track of you, you tour, especially when you get into the festival season, you get to touring pretty extensively.
Yeah.
For people that want to keep track of you, your label, your activities, your goings-on, where can they do so?
You can check Songkick, or you can check my website, yorubarecords.net. I think there's a Yoruba on Facebook as well, I believe.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, okay.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm not on it, but it's on there. But yeah, all the dates are mostly a Songkick has all of the dates.
Okay, nice. So, last question for our audience, especially Detroit. Detroit has always shown you love. What would you like to say to the listeners out there, especially those that came to your party celebration yesterday?
The ones that came yesterday, just thanks for being such beautiful people and really, really making me feel at home. I can't say it enough. It was, I felt like it was my birthday, and it's 6 more days from now. So it's just really heartwarming, when you're with people and there's no pretension, that they're really there for you and they're there to share the music with you. And I think last night for me, like most people, I hope was a connection that we don't have the opportunity to have many times. Not every party. People ask me often, "Where's the best place to play?" I say, I can't say my favorite or the best because tonight maybe, and then I'll say that, and then tomorrow, Yeah. So the energy always changes, but something about here, because the soul, and I think of the situation that Detroit has gone through, like most American inner cities, the outlet is from within. So when we get the chance to share that, it's really like last night was off. It was the ceilings were sweating, and so that energy, I think we all walked away healed, and that is the point for me, to connect and to heal, myself and the people, that communication.
Yeah, music is more than music. I mean,
it's the only language we all understand without knowing what people are saying.
That's what's up.
You know what I mean?
That's
you can listen to something
up,
from India and be like, I don't, but it's jamming.
Universal.
It's the one frequency that we all get.
Nice.
So.
Well, brother, thank you so much for coming through to the Progressive Underground.
Thank you
Nancy
for having
Gavor, thank you for coming through as well. And you're going to take us out into our next break with a tune that's been popularly requested on this show. Kind of walk us through Beloved.
Beloved. Beloved was on my first album, Paradigm, on Soul Jazz Records. At the time, that was a shifting transition point for me for the label and distribution. So I wanted to do an album to prove to myself that it wasn't the music, it was the distribution that wasn't getting it where it needed to go. So I did that with the album. And Beloved just happened to happen. There was an artist on Epic at the time called Morley. And I was really in love with her, kind of like a singer-songwriter, folky kind of, and I loved her voice. And I reached out to her, again, music business, called somebody up at Sony, and I need to get this girl. And we literally linked up, and she was actually a student of Olatunji. I didn't know that. She shows up, and so our conversation was just like, she walks in, She walks in, and we have this whole conversation about Yoruba, the drums, Olatunji, and literally one take. One take.
The universe at work.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
Well, Osunlade, thank you for coming into the WDET studios, hanging out with us on the Progressive Underground. Anytime you want to come back, got anything on your mind, your seat is warm for you, and we got your name on the back of your seat after this.
I'm going to take you up on that.
All right, that's what's up.
All right, brother.
You're tuned into the Progressive Underground on 101.9 WDET, and this is Beloved by Osunlade.